Dead City Episode 2 opens with a love song to Manhattan. The lyrics promise an isle of joy, but the images tell a very different story. Negan sits alone in a bar, surrounded by the dead. Across the city, Maggie and her people cover windows, watch rooftops, prepare supplies, and train for the next emergency. The song dreams about parks, theaters, and ordinary life. The people on screen are still learning how to survive one more day. That contrast becomes the entire episode. Maggie no longer wants to protect a hiding place. She wants to build a real society. Negan thinks every society eventually needs someone willing to do the ugly work. And the Dama, even from a cage, believes Manhattan still belongs to her vision. Inside the community hospital, Herschel studies practical medicine while the adults around him prepare for a future nobody can guarantee. Nearby, Pearlie Armstrong is getting ready to leave. Maggie gives him the last bag of French roast from their limited supply, a small luxury in a world where almost everything has become useful before it can become enjoyable. She tells him she trusts him to keep the community secret. Then she admits she does not completely trust him. That is Maggie in one exchange, grateful, protective, and never fully relaxed. Then the red light comes on. The community moves away from the windows without asking questions, which tells us this drill has happened before. Maggie and Armstrong head to the roof and spot people from New Babylon below. The strangers are not attacking. They appear to be helping someone, and their search leads back to the one name Maggie has been waiting to hear, the Dama. Negan and Dillard are listening from the bar. The scavengers are looking for food for her. For Maggie, this is not a random sighting. It is the first real trail to the woman who manipulated Herschel and tried to shape him into something darker. Maggie does not hesitate. She tells Negan it is time to go get her. After the title sequence, Maggie, Negan, and Armstrong move through the city toward an abandoned theater. Inside, they find the Dama's injured followers performing a bizarre tribute to their missing leader. The scene is funny for a few seconds, mostly because Negan cannot resist mocking the performance. But the humor disappears as soon as Maggie offers them a way out. She brings food. She offers medical treatment and safe transport. Armstrong even offers space on his boat. All they have to do is reveal where the Dama is being kept. The followers refuse. To them, the Dama did more than feed people. She gave damaged people a purpose and taught them how to dream again. That belief is stronger than hunger, pain, or common sense. The conversation turns into a theatrical ambush. The followers attack while reciting lines about war, and the stage becomes a real battlefield. Maggie, Negan, and Armstrong fight their way through the chaos. By the end, the Dama is captured alive, but she is not defeated. She immediately attacks Maggie where it hurts most, accusing her of stealing Herschel away from the future the Dama designed for him. Negan wants the Dama killed on the spot. Maggie refuses. Back at the hospital, Maggie questions the Dama about the Croat, the fuel tanks, and the systems hidden across Manhattan. The Dama claims the Croat is dead, but she has something more valuable than a location. She has a plan. She tells Maggie that the tanks can power the island. Central Park can become farmland again. Empty lofts can become factories. The hospital is only the beginning. Manhattan, she says, is an entire civilization waiting to be released. This is the first major turn in the episode. Maggie has captured the Dama, but the Dama gives her an idea she cannot easily forget. The prisoner has lost her followers and her freedom, yet she may still be directing the future from behind the bars. Upstairs, Herschel is learning how to stitch a wound. Dillard becomes the unlucky practice patient, while Negan watches and turns the whole lesson into an argument. The scene is funny, but it also shows what this community is trying to create. Herschel is not only being trained to fight, he is being taught how to keep people alive. Maggie later tells him the Dama is locked away and cannot hurt him. Herschel admits something that surprises her. If he had been inside the theater, part of him would have wanted to kill the Dama. But he is afraid that when the day comes and he truly has to kill someone, he may not be able to do it. That fear sits at the center of the episode. In the old world, hesitation could be a moral strength. In this world, it can get someone killed. Maggie wants her son to keep his humanity, but she also knows humanity without survival skills does not last very long. The community gathers to decide what happens next. Their choices are all bad. They can execute the Dhamma, imprison her forever, or attempt the kind of rehabilitation that almost nobody in the room believes will work. Keeping her alive also has a cost. She needs food, a secure cage, and guards who can never relax. Killing her would save resources, but it would destroy the values the community claims to represent. Negan rejects the entire debate. In his view, nothing lasts unless somebody is willing to do brutal things to protect it. Renata pushes back because a community that abandons its values whenever survival becomes difficult is not much of a community at all. Maggie is caught between them. Negan is describing the world as it is. Renata is defending the world Maggie wants to build. The Dhamma solves the immediate problem by refusing to eat, but that only changes the form of the decision. Letting a prisoner starve is still a decision. Outside, Dillard insists he can understand walkers. Negan tells him to stop pretending. Dillard then introduces a restrained walker as if it were a difficult friend instead of a corpse with teeth. The situation falls apart almost immediately. Negan and Dillard run for the fire escape, and Negan reminds him that walkers are not pets. They are death on 2 feet. The anger passes, and Dillard finally explains why he does this. Before the fall, he was an undercover cop. He spent years living as people who were not supposed to be him, until the performance became part of his identity. In the bar, pretending the walkers could understand him kept him from losing his mind. Maybe the act was false, the need behind it was real. Then Dillard says the line that quietly explains several characters in this episode: play a part long enough, and it becomes part of who you are. He is talking about himself, but the words also hang over Negan. Negan can leave the saviors behind. He can stop carrying the bat. He can refuse leadership, but the man he had to become is still in the room. Maggie returns to the cage with food and a knife. She remembers standing across from Negan when he was a prisoner and choosing not to kill him. Back then, mercy was not clean. Part of her wanted him alive because suffering felt worse than death. This time, Maggie refuses both revenge and neglect. She will not execute the Dhamma, and she will not pretend starvation is morally different. The Dhamma can eat, share what she knows, and try to make up for what she has done. Or she can use the knife. The choice is hers, but freedom is not. Dillard puts away the walker-related things in the bar and admits he may be better with some distance from them. Then he asks Negan to teach him the video game. What follows is 2 damaged men insulting each other with the energy of teenagers on a couch. The scene looks disposable, but it is not. Dillard has just confessed that he no longer knows where the undercover role ends. Negan has spent years insisting he is done becoming responsible for other people, yet here he is, making room for one more person anyway. Maggie comes to the bar and asks Negan why he stayed in Manhattan. Then she admits the real reason she came. She still wants the Dhamma dead. She wanted it in the theater, and she wants it now. She tells Negan because he is the only person who understands that kind of anger without pretending it is something else. Negan gives her the simplest answer: kill her. Maggie refuses because this place may be the best chance Herschel has for a future. They have food, weapons, electricity, medical space, and knowledge. For once, they are not starting from nothing. Negan tells her the keep people alive game is rigged. To protect a community, leaders kill threats. Eventually they kill the wrong person, lose confidence, and hesitate when the right target appears. Maggie believes people can change because she has watched Negan change. Negan insists he is an exception and says he is finished building things for other people. Their argument ends without agreement, but Maggie has forced Negan to look at the possibility he has been avoiding. He may never want to lead again. That does not mean what he knows has stopped being useful. A walker is let out near the back rooms, creating another sudden danger. The exact intention is less important than the result. The bar is not as controlled as Dillard wants to believe. Afterward, Negan sits outside in silence, drinking, with the humor drained out of him. When he returns to Maggie, he makes one thing clear: he is not dead. He does not believe this building can stay safe, but the reason is bigger than one prisoner or one violent decision. Small communities eventually collapse under the number of jobs required to keep them alive. Negan explains that the old world worked because responsibility was divided. Judges judged, guards guarded, doctors treated patients, farmers grew food. Other people handled the 1,000 ordinary tasks that kept any one leader from becoming judge, jury, and executioner. Maggie hears the real answer inside his warning. They do not need fewer people. They need many more. They have enough food to grow. They can train doctors and engineers. Central Park can become farmland. More people can create more food and stronger defenses. Negan warns that Maggie does not simply need survivors. She needs good people. Maggie believes safety can make frightened people better. Negan reminds her that some people never change. For those people, a real society needs laws and institutions, not one exhausted leader making every final call. Maggie takes the idea to Renata. Until now, every system in the community has been designed to stay invisible. Red lights, cameras, covered windows, and strict secrecy. Renata reminds her why. Anybody who discovers this place may try to take it. Maggie argues that secrecy is only delaying the crisis. Their pantry is shrinking. Winter is coming. One doctor is not a healthcare system, and one hidden settlement is not a future. More people mean more risk, but they also mean sentries, farmers, engineers, doctors, and enough defenders to survive the enemies who will eventually arrive anyway. Renata is afraid because she has a baby niece to protect. Maggie understands because she has Herschel. Her answer is the difference between being safe today and being secure tomorrow. The community has resources now. What matters is what they choose to build with them. They finally approach outsiders and offer help. It is a small moment, but it changes the rules of the island. Maggie is no longer waiting for people to discover them. She is inviting the future in. That decision also changes Armstrong's mission. Maggie tells him he may reveal the community to good people and asks him to return someday. Armstrong says he has work to do in New Babylon first. With the army leaving, he believes there may finally be a chance to change that settlement from within. The Dama finally eats. Then Negan visits her cage, and the encounter immediately becomes a threat assessment. He has every reason to want her dead. She has every reason to provoke the man who once trained the Croat and built an empire through fear. The exchange turns physical and dangerous, but the Dama remains contained. What matters is the warning beneath the scene. Maggie is opening Manhattan to strangers while the most dangerous people already inside the walls are still testing each other. Maggie and Renata stand at the power controls, knowing that once they pull the switch, secrecy is over. Renata is still worried about the island, and she is also worried about Negan. He has changed, but the violence is still inside him. The question is whether that violence will be dangerous to their enemies or to the people he is supposedly protecting. They throw the switch. The tanks and systems come alive. Across the dark city, the Statue of Liberty becomes visible again, not just as a monument, but as a beacon. The episode began with an old song promising to turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy. It ends with Maggie making the first choice that could actually turn that fantasy into a city. The light tells survivors that there is food, power, and human life on the island. It also tells every predator exactly where to look. Across the water, strangers see the beacon and move toward boats. The episode does not identify them clearly enough to name them. It only shows the consequence. Maggie wanted more people. The city has answered. The ending creates three important questions. First, did Maggie defeat the Dama, or did she begin carrying out the Dama's plan? The Dama described power, farming, factories, and a restored civilization. Maggie rejects the Dama's cruelty, but she still turns on the same infrastructure and opens the city. That does not prove the Dama manipulated her. It does mean the Dama can influence Manhattan without leaving the cage. Second, has Negan truly stepped away from leadership? He says he is done building communities, yet his understanding of the saviors gives Maggie the blueprint for expansion. More people, specialized roles, laws, guards, doctors, and farmers. Negan refuses the job while solving the problem. Third, can any of them escape the roles that kept them alive? Dillard says a role becomes part of you when you play it long enough. That idea applies to almost everyone. Maggie is still the leader who carries every life on her shoulders. Negan is still the man people turn to when morality becomes violent. The Dama is still ruling through stories and ideas, even as a prisoner. What the episode confirms is simple. The Dama is alive and imprisoned. Maggie chooses expansion over secrecy. Armstrong is allowed to spread the word to people he trusts. Manhattan's power comes back on, and survivors begin moving toward the island. What it does not confirm is whether the approaching people are allies, whether the Dhamma planned this outcome, or whether Negan will become the community's protector or its greatest internal threat. Maggie has turned on the light. Now she has to survive everyone who sees it. Was opening Manhattan the first step toward civilization, or the mistake that will destroy it?